A very good morning to you. Thank you for staying with us here on Global Morning. I'm Uyagmo Fwegbe, live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. And this is Global Television. It's always a delight to have you join us here on the program. I'm sure you had a great weekend, and it's the first work day. Some people say it's the working day of the week is Monday. It's been a rainy morning across, at least for the most part, this morning across the Federal Capital Territory, that is Abuja here in Nigeria, and we're hoping the rain becomes a blessing for you as you make progress into this very, very promising day. But that hasn't changed the fact that there are several issues we should have conversations about this morning, including economic issues back home in Nigeria. We now hear that several states are beginning to roll out mechanisms all in a bid to distribute palliatives. Just yesterday in particular, this weekend essentially, we understand that several states, including Niger and Sokoto, are now busy distributing palliatives. They are putting systems and structures in place to ensure hitch-free, even transparent distribution of palliatives. In fact, in one state, we understand that the governor had even had to augment the ₦5 loan expected from the federal government just to ensure that the distribution becomes significant, especially given the number of persons who have been listed as beneficiaries in this case. We have seen one or two states doing more than just bags of some states, in particular, Borno have had to roll out a public bus system just to augment whatever the federal government has proposed. All of these in a bid to cushion the adverse impact of fuel subsidy on their citizens across these respective states. And then there's the threat of flooding as well, affecting several states from up north all the way to the middle belt of the country and then down south as well. We understand at least between 11 and 12 states will be significantly impacted in ways that are adverse, whether it's washing off their farm crops, houses, and sometimes even threat of death. All right, all of these are part of the concern that states are now having, and NEMA has brilliantly and as always taking a proactive measure to send advisories out to states to say, look, you must take quick measures to mitigate the impact of this flood. One of them is to put shelters in place as well as other structures to be able to accommodate those who will be in Nigeria. Labour is now saying, look, we are going on strike. In fact, they call it warning strike, a 2-day warning strike, which we hope doesn't happen. But Labour has said it has been proposed for tomorrow, Tuesday, the 5th, and the day that follows Wednesday, the 6th of September. In the interim, however, the federal government says we are very much disposed to talking with Labour. We want Labour to come to the round table so we can have a dialogue about these issues that are now forming the basis. Meetings between the federal government and the Labour Union are always held at night, but that meeting has been scheduled for today. Took office that he's ever willing and ready and available to talk with Labour about issues around welfare of workers. And Abuja today to attend the G20 summit in India. We understand he has been specially invited to be part of that meeting where he's going to seek financing for critical projects in Nigeria. And of course, he's going to, we understand, have several meetings, some of which he has been scheduled to have sideline discussions with some giants across the world, including business communities, while he's there in New Delhi, India, for the summit. We understand, by the way, that Chinese President Xi Jinping will not be attending. President Biden says he's disappointed about that, but that's a story for much later. But we are immediately concerned with what Nigeria stands to benefit from this meeting, and we're going to be having that conversation for the next couple of days, as a matter of fact, for most of this week. And then we still have Niger and the other country now, Gabon, in front of us with regards to the coups that have taken place in both countries. While that of Niger happened on the 26th of July, this is the second month, the one in Gabon was just on Wednesday, but those two instances have become some sort of nightmare. Niger is still braying. They are asking, in fact, they are giving 48-hour ultimatum to the French ambassador in Niamey to leave the country. In fact, they have revoked, some people say, withdrawn his immunity. In Gabon, they are swearing in a leader, right now, while Ali Bongo, the ousted president, is still being held in captivity alongside his son and locations. We have seen several stories, some of them unconfirmed, coming out of Gabon now. We're going to help you make sense of all of those, because Global Television is your one-stop shop for factual, balanced, and authentic news reportage. We're taking a quick break now, everyone. When we return, we'll look at the papers for you, and we'll make out substantial time to talk about many of these. Let's turn to the papers for you real quick. We'll begin with the Nation newspaper this morning. It says illegal miners, 30-day ultimatum to vacate sites. That's what it says here on the Nation newspaper. Okay, that's just above the nameplate, by the way. But there's a story there, the headline with the picture of the group chief executive officer of the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited, Melekari. Marketers, why we can't break NNPCL's import monopoly to determine teachers' promotion in Ondo. Tinubu targets global capital in India. That journey begins today with the president jetting out of Abuja to Asia. Foreign reserves, Naira appreciates on stable oil outlook. TUC snubs NLC strike call, calling workers out of work premature. We will continue to dialogue with governments to ease subsidy pain. That's the Trade Union Congress talking. So there's apparently a divergence in views between the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress of Nigeria. Flood risk rises in Lagos, Nasarawa, Bayelsa coastal communities. Okay, those are stories basically from today's Nation newspaper. And then at the foot of it, it says Kaduna hires 7,000 vigilantes to battle bandits. 9 killed in Ogun. Oshun crashes. A sad story there. Let's look at a leadership newspaper as well for you with the star story here saying, at leadership Twitter spaces, Gabonese junta out to protect Bongo's interest. Stakeholders reveal. Okay, NNPP crisis deepens. Rival group probes 1 billion naira campaign funds. Africa must think outside the box to address coups, terrorism. Sandy. Africa still faces serious political conflicts. AU, that's the African Union there talking. Let's talk about AU and ECOWAS for a second. All of these coups we're now seeing across the continent, especially the most recent ones that have been staged in the last couple of years, from Burkina Faso to Chad to Mali to Niger and now to Gabon. These are 5 most recent of them all have further come to test, all right, the strength or otherwise of regional bodies, continental bodies like ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, and the African Union, AU, as to what exactly is the change, is the difference they have made or are making. We understand, for example, that ECOWAS, AU has suspended Niger Republic. ECOWAS has slammed that country with several sanctions. Of course, it is going to be of absolute no surprise to anybody who understands the issues when such, similar sanctions are slammed against Congo, against Gabon. But the challenge is, to what extent do these sanctions, all right, make a difference for the better? We have seen several coups in Africa in the last couple of years. Many of them also came with sanctions from AU and ECOWAS by way of consequence or repercussion, if you like. But have those sanctions changed the narrative for the better? Because people are now saying that beyond these 2 immediate instances, which is Niger on the first, the first instance, and then the second one being Gabon. There are several African countries now where leadership, where governance, where rule of law are still at rock bottom, because in the end, every time there's a coup, there are always underlying issues. When leaders across Africa go to attend summits, whether it's at ECOWAS level or at the AU level, what kind of conversations do they have about good governance, about rule of law in their countries? Because incidentally, each of these countries has a constitution. Do they have conversations around why leaders, especially presidents or heads of governments, must be subject to the constitutions of their respective countries? For example, if there were to be an AU summit, say in October, where all the presidents across this country, all the heads of government, across this continent will converge, who is telling President Tinubu, for example, that he needs to be subject to the constitution of Nigeria? Who is telling the president of Cote d'Ivoire, the president of South Africa, the president of Gabon, if we had a president there in any case, or the president of Zimbabwe, or the president of, say, Niger? Okay, Niger doesn't have a president. Let's say Cameroon